All right, so with that, we have the setup for our next topic where we want to look at Crimea, specifically the blockade of Crimea. We have to quantify that a little bit, so we have an infographic that we pulled out that you can see there. And so you have certain roadblocks that have been set up on key roads moving into Crimea. As it is, it's still the case that a lot of goods, and especially food and foodstuffs, travels from Ukraine into Crimea. And we've seen Crimean Tatar organizations, along with other organizations, have been involved, such as Pravy Sector and some Ukrainian MPs. And what they've been doing is they've been blocking these shipments from going into Crimea. Not a total blockade, other people are able to enter, but these trucks that are transporting goods and foods have not. To a certain extent, this is a tool that is a race against time. Russia has committed itself to building a bridge across the Kerch Strait. So we have an image of that now where you can see that. The lower part of the image shows, the construction that has been going on as of September to try and finish that. So as long as that bridge isn't complete, the transport links to Crimea are very much dependent on roads going through Ukraine. We wanted to examine this issue a little bit more closely, what it means, how it was motivated, and what people hope to achieve. To that extent, I'm very happy to welcome back to the program Arsen Zhumadilov, an analyst at the Crimean Institute for Strategic Studies.
Thanks for having me.
Glad to have you here. Why is this happening, and what's the goal here?
Well, why is this happening? I think that is very much clear, because we have Crimea, which is annexed. We, as the whole world, we believe that it has been done in an illegal way, and we believe that that support of this annexation whatsoever is just not possible. It should not be there. So what's happening now? It should have taken place 1.5 years ago, right after the annexation in April 2014. But it seemed that at that time the Ukrainian government or the Ukrainian state as a whole was way too weak, and it was way too much preoccupied with what was happening at that time in Donbass. So it took.
Well, the Ukrainian government has been kept reacting to what's going on. It's all been fast, it's been
Absolutely.
hard to do that. And what's interesting with the blockade is that it's not a government blockade. It's not the Ukrainian government saying you can't send things in. It's organizations taking action. And in particular for the Crimean Tatars, this is a protest that if they tried to do it on the other side of this de facto border, they wouldn't be allowed to, correct?
Absolutely correct, yes. And it is, to some extent, it is unfortunate that our government is not prepared to make a swift action, to take a swift action on Crimea, because they are, as I say, too much preoccupied with Donbass. But this reason it held for too long now, and so now it should change. And now the civic society organizations, being led by the Mejlis of the Crimean Tatar people, they did take the charge. They did take the responsibility to stop the shipment of the goods that are flowing easily, that were flowing easily to Crimea for so long. And as we know, 80% of these goods, they were not utilized. They were not consumed in Crimea. They were retransported or re-exported to mainland Russia. And
so people were making money off of this?
Absolutely. They're making money, one. Second, their fairy tales about that sanctions do not affect them, it is just not true. Why? Because they were so much eager to secure the shipment from Ukraine. In this way, they were to some extent, they were easing the pressure that the world, put on them with all the sanctions that they have. So, at this point of time, we believe that this is a very long expected move. It is very much. It is supported by the public. It is also supported by the president and the government, who said that yes, probably this is a good thing to happen. It is just unfortunate that we see the initiative not, coming out from official Kiev, but rather from civic society organizations.
And it's an interesting dynamic, because what's always struck me about the Crimean Tatars is they're very into kind of techniques that, in a way, were used by the civil rights movement in the U.S. Occupying something or blocking trucks coming through. It's not aggressive, but it has an effect. It's moving forward.
Right.
It's trying to bring awareness to an issue in a way that's nonviolent. But to some of our viewers and to some writers, there's been concern for what looks like something that has right sector or right-wing group working together with the Crimean Tatars. I mean, is it true that they're working together, or are they simply having similar goals? What is that situation like?
Well, I was there a few days ago, and what I saw is that, first of all, it is not aggressive, absolutely not at all. Second, yes, there are some right-wing organizations there who supported the Crimean Tatars in their cause, but as the chairman of the Mejlis, Mr. Chubarov, said, that whoever supports our cause and whoever commits it in a peaceful way, in a non-violent way, they are welcome to support the blockade. So yes, to some extent, probably especially by the Russian media, this could be used as a motive to say that, oh, look, they are in a close contact with right-wing organizations. But in reality, this is not the fact. In fact, what we are having is that we are having an open platform for everybody who supports the idea that Ukraine should be integral, that the annexation of Crimea is illegal, that all the crimes that are committed by the Russian regime in Crimea should be punished, or we should have like our answer retaliation to what they do there in Crimea. So it is an open platform which is accessible for everybody.
What has been the Russian response so far to the blockade?
Well, it has been to some extent comic, to some extent ridiculous. Why? Because what they did is that on the second day after the blockade started, they went down to shopping malls in Simferopol in Crimea, showing that all the shelves are full, that they have foodstuff, they have, whatever. But the problem with this is that you have your stocks full, and they will be exhausted in 2 weeks. So we'll see the pictures in 2 weeks, and they will be, it will be a stark, contrast from what they showed a few days ago with what we will see in a few weeks' time. So they are trying to create an image as if it has a minor effect, and it will not make an impact on the situation.
Well, they're trying to put a strong face on saying this doesn't affect us, this has had no impact. But I mean, I think, there is an impact, and my question would be if this moves forward, if it goes on for a long period of time, there would be shortages that would also hurt the Crimean Tatar community.
Right.
And there are some in Ukraine who also complain, that they have their goods, their food, their vegetables that they've grown, and, they have legal papers from the government, and they're not able to get it to the markets that they would normally. I mean, how would you respond to those two questions?
I would say, as our leaders say, it is a trade made on blood, all right? So whoever is fine with an idea that whatever he sells has blood stains on it, let him, push forward his cause. We will hear from them, and we will have an open dialogue with them. But up to today, we haven't heard a single voice being made by those in Ukraine who have a reputation of being honest, being straight, being distinct human rights, for example, fighters, human rights activists, who would say that this is totally incorrect, this is totally wrong, you should lift the blockade and you should let the goods flow to Crimea. So this is first. Second, yes, if this situation, if this lasts for some time more, then of course we have to institutionalize this. We cannot let just the civic society organizations to rule the situation. Why? Because to some extent, yes, it is effective and efficient, but in the long run, they will run out of their resources, and it will probably create some unease with the government, because the government or the state is the one who should control its borders, right?
And should be
Has
doing
there
these
been
things.
the willingness to have that sort of integration yet? Or?
Yes, what we have seen so far is that the government says, yes, we are closely watching the situation. We will see how it makes an impact on the situation in Crimea. And to some extent, it proved a bit reluctant, but we see that with the public support growing and with this blockade proving being effective, they will have to make a step forward saying like, yes, all right, let us now do this and that. For example, let us abolish the law on the free economic zone of Crimea. Let us put instead put forward a new law instead, where we will say that all the goods that are transported to Crimea should be or should bear humanitarian value for our citizens only. For example, foodstuff for kids or something like that. So we should see a legal action, and we should see an action on the ground, and these civil society organizations being replaced by the customs and
So we're looking
border
for
offices.
increased coordination with the government and for them to
Right.
play a part with
Yes.
that. All right, we'll have to end it
Yeah.
there. But I mean, I think that's a good note to focus on.